A quiet summer's night. Dalkeith, a small town on the outskirts of Edinburgh, was the kind of place where everybody knew each other. It was the evening of the 30th of June 2003, and for most families, the night passed like any other. Children played outside, parents prepared dinner, and the faint hum of everyday life filled the quiet streets. But for the Jones family, that ordinary evening would become the beginning of an unimaginable nightmare. 14-year-old Jodi Jones left her home around 5 p.m. to meet her boyfriend, Luke Mitchell. It was supposed to be a simple, routine walk along a familiar Roansdyke path, a shortcut that many locals used. She never came back. Hours later, search parties set out. In the dark, torch beams cut across the wooded area, searching the shadows. And then came the discovery. Not by chance, but because Luke himself led the group directly to the place where Jodi's lifeless body was hidden. From the moment she was found, the story of Jodi Jones became one of Scotland's most shocking and divisive murder cases. Jodi's life. Jodi wasn't just another name in a headline. She was a young girl full of life and creativity. Her friends described her as funny, free-spirited, and artistic. She loved sketching, writing, and listening to music. At school, she was known for her style, slightly rebellious, slightly alternative, but never cruel. She had a big heart, and while she had her share of teenage arguments with family, she was deeply loved. At the time of her death, Jodi was dating Luke Mitchell, a boy she'd met through school. He was charismatic, brooding, and fascinated with dark music and gothic subculture. For Jodi, it was exciting, like stepping into a different world. To her friends, Luke was mysterious and controlling. Their relationship was young, intense, and turbulent, the kind of teenage romance that could consume every waking moment. The murder scene. The scene where Jodi was found horrified even seasoned detectives. Hidden behind a wall off Roansdyke Path, her body bore the marks of a frenzied attack. Her throat had been cut, and her clothing showed evidence of a violent struggle. This wasn't random. The attack was sustained, brutal, and deeply personal. Whoever had done this had spent time ensuring she would not survive, and then concealed her body as though they knew it would be found eventually. To the officers present, one question immediately surfaced. Who would do this to a 14-year-old girl? The early investigation. Police began building a timeline. Jodi had left home around 5 p.m. intending to meet Luke. When she didn't return, her family grew anxious. Eventually, Luke himself joined the search party and, suspiciously, led them straight to the body. Detectives noticed his lack of visible shock. While others screamed, cried, or recoiled, Luke remained eerily composed. He later explained he had seen something that made him realize where she was, but his story was inconsistent. As days turned into weeks, Luke became the main suspect. His home was searched and his possessions catalogued. Investigators noted his obsession with Marilyn Manson, violent lyrics, and satanic imagery. While some saw this as merely teenage rebellion, others viewed it as evidence of a darker mindset. The community reacts. Dalkeith was in turmoil. Parents kept their children close. Rumours spread like wildfire. How could a girl so young be targeted in such a vicious way? And worse, Was the killer one of their own? Luke, who had once blended into the community as another moody teenager, suddenly became the subject of whispered conversations. His appearance, long black hair, black clothing, dark art, stood out in sharp contrast to the grieving family of Jodi Jones. The press painted him as a monster, while others whispered he was a scapegoat, a victim of prejudice against subculture. Forensic findings. As forensic science combed through evidence, the police uncovered troubling signs. Jodi's injuries suggested a calculated and frenzied attack. There were no signs of robbery, no evidence that this random violence was caused by a stranger. Instead, this pointed to someone she knew, someone she trusted enough to walk down a quiet path in the evening light with. Luke's timeline became shaky. He claimed to have been at home cooking dinner with his mother, but inconsistencies in testimony left cracks in his alibi. Witnesses reported seeing a boy matching his description on the path that night. Others spoke of his possessive streak with Jodi. Bit by bit, the noose tightened. The trial of Luke Mitchell. In 2005, Luke Mitchell, by then 16 years old, stood trial for the murder of his girlfriend. The courtroom atmosphere was electric. Every day, the press filled the gallery. The public was desperate for answers. The prosecution painted a chilling picture. They argued Luke, consumed by jealousy and anger, lured Jodi to the path and killed her. They highlighted his obsession with violent imagery and his controlling behavior. They pointed to his discovery of the body as suspicious and convenient. The defense fought back, arguing the case was built on prejudice and not proof. They emphasized the lack of DNA linking Luke to the scene and claimed police had unfairly targeted him because of his gothic appearance and interests. After a trial that gripped the nation, the jury delivered their verdict. Guilty. Luke Mitchell was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 20 years before parole eligibility. Aftermath and ongoing debate. The conviction divided Scotland. Some believed justice had been served and that Jodi's killer was behind bars. Others insisted that Luke was innocent, that he was a convenient suspect railroaded by biased policing and sensationalist media. Campaigns have since launched to appeal his conviction, with high-profile documentaries and journalists questioning the evidence. Luke himself has never admitted guilt, maintaining his innocence from prison. For Jodi's family, however, the pain remains unbearable. Their daughter was taken in the most brutal way, and whether or not all the answers are known, the scars left behind will never heal. The murder of Jodi Jones is remembered not only as a horrific crime, but as one of Scotland's most controversial convictions. The legacy of Jodi Jones's murder. The murder of Jodi Jones remains one of Scotland's darkest and most controversial cases. A young girl, just 14, was lured down a quiet path and brutally killed, her life stolen before it had even really begun. The brutality of the crime shocked a nation, but what followed left wounds that will never fully heal. Luke Mitchell's conviction brought some closure, but it also left behind years of unanswered questions and bitter debate. Was he truly guilty beyond all reasonable doubt, or had the justice system condemned a teenager based on image, lifestyle, and circumstance? 2 decades later, the case continues to divide opinions. Jodi's family, robbed of a daughter and a sister, carry pain few can imagine. Luke Mitchell, from within prison walls, continues to insist he is innocent. And Scotland, as a nation, remembers the horror of that summer evening and the chilly discovery that followed. What is certain is this: a young girl's life was taken in the most violent of ways, and the ripple effect of that crime is still felt today. For many, the story of Jodi Jones is not just a murder case, it's a haunting reminder of innocence destroyed, of justice questioned, and of a wound in the heart of a community that time will never fully close.